Welcome back to the Midnight Memo. If you're up, welcome to the club. Come join us, for a little virtual hangout, virtual sleepover for all the night owls out there. My name is Claire, and I am currently running off of caffeine and prayers.
I am Claire's co-host, Kristen, and what am I running off of today? Crippling memories of high school, because we're going to talk about customer service, I guess.
Yeah, fair enough. Haunting memories of high school, our young adolescent brains having to deal with horrible customer service situations. Oh, God.
Our young adolescent brains having to deal with adolescent-minded adults.
Oh, my God. Yeah, childlike adults.
for example, right?
Mm-hmm.
You put X amount of pumps of sugar, X amount of pumps of cream, blah, 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 depending on the size. It's very standard. Like, so it's the same every single time.
Yeah.
They would get so mad and they'd be like, oh, I want 2 pumps of cream. Okay, sure. 2 extra pumps? And they're like, no, I only want 2 pumps of cream. Okay, it comes with 4 usually, so you only want 2. You're asking these clarifying questions. Check with them to make sure you get it right.
Yeah.
They'll have an attitude with you. And then when you give it to them, then they'll get mad. They'll have the audacity. They'll come out of the drive-thru, park their car, come inside the restaurant, and they'll be like, this doesn't have enough cream in it. Blah, 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 blah. I asked for 2 more pumps of cream. And it's like, no, you didn't.
No, you didn't.
Do not be coming in here
Play it back.
But I loved my manager. The manager I would usually work with on morning shifts. She was super understanding and very much like a no bullshit type of person.
Mm-hmm.
So she backed up the workers a lot of the times, especially when customers would come in like super angry.
Yeah.
There was this one person, basically, I think they were trying to pull a McDonald's hot coffee like lawsuit on me. I gave them their coffee and then they come through and they were so mad at me. They were not having it that day. And they were like, this is absolutely incorrect. And I asked for a black coffee. And I was like, that is a black coffee. And they're like, yeah, but it's supposed to be 100 degrees and it's actually this many. And I'm like, oh, I didn't say this, obviously, right? But I'm thinking, I'm like, do you have a fucking thermometer right there? Like, what the?
Yeah. He rolls up, puts it in his coffee.
You look at my coffee machine right behind me where I literally poured it from. The thermometer on here says it is exactly correct. So try me again. But
bro,
she just started yelling at me and she was not having it. Like, started a whole scene in the lobby of the restaurant. She was like threatening to throw her coffee at me.
be like, do it, bitch.
Yeah, she was like, do you want to test like authority? Remake this again, blah, blah, blah. And my manager comes up out of nowhere and she's like, leave.
Yeah.
Get out. And she's like, they're not doing it right, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, leave. Get out of my restaurant right now. Don't come in here and threaten my workers. That's not allowed. I'll call the cops. And she's tried to argue with my manager. My manager's like, picked up the phone. She's like, I'll call. You got 5 seconds to get your ass out of here.
Damn.
Like, you need to get out of here.
People are crazy,
Yeah.
especially over things that aren't a big deal. Probably like a few dollars for a cup of coffee.
Yeah. And like, we have a policy. We'll remake it for you. We have to remake it for you if you come in and complain. If you say it's like wrong for whatever reason,
Yeah.
we have to remake it. So we'll come in and we'll remake it for you. It's not even that of an issue. And we never ask your money unless you're completely changing to like something else, right?
Yeah.
You got charged for item A and then you actually wanted item B, then like we have to remake it and like we charge you different. But if we messed up or it's not how you like it, we would redo it. But people would come in fighting for their life over these small things. Like, there's only 2 creams in here. And I'm like,
Because you asked.
you want 2 more? I will add 2 more. I will do it for you. It is not that hard.
Yeah. And it's like, you would get so much further if you were just like, hey, sorry, I think that there was a miscommunication. I actually wanted 2 more pumps. Is that okay?
Yeah.
You'll get what you want versus being like, you dumb idiot.
Yeah.
Like, you mismade my coffee. What the hell? Like,
yeah. And I think that's exactly what the whole phrasing of the customer's always right was meant to do. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The example you're just saying, oh, I think there was a miscommunication. I actually wanted 2 more. Okay, if the customer wanted 2 more, they're right. They wanted 2 more. So remake it and make it right. I think that's what the intention was meant to. And now we've gone so far, and I've also had like bad managers where they took that a little too far, where they're like, oh, whatever they say. And I'm like, oh, when they would correct you and be like, it's your job to do this. I'm like, actually, no, it's not.
like, bitch, the fuck?
Is the customer right then? Yeah, get behind the counter then. You want to do it? Do it yourself.
Literally. Oh man. There was this one woman. Okay, so when I was working at the shoe store, right? My job description: help people find the shoes, check them out. That's basically
Straight up. Yeah.
yeah. Clean the shelves when no one's around. That's baseline. Low expectations for a high school student, and I met those. Okay, I met the low expectations.
You did. You did the job. You did what you had to do.
There was a woman who came in and she was like, I want to try these shoes on. I was like, great, I'll go get your size. Brought them to her.
Yeah.
And then I like set them down. Like, we had a couple seating areas for people to try on their shoes, and set them down at one of the couches saying like, I'll just leave them here for you to try on. Let me know if I can get you something else or like a different size or whatever. So I went back to like doing other responsibilities, and then she was just sitting there not doing anything. And I was like,
stop. Did she want you to try them on for her?
No. Okay, even worse.
No.
It wasn't, yeah, like, I went over and I was like, oh, was this not the right size? Like, did you not, like, did these not work out? She's like, no, I was waiting for you to help me put them on. And so she basically made me
Cinderella her, like, put it on her feet.
Yeah.
That's fucking wild. Where do you think you are? You're
Honestly,
not
I was so
pissed.
pissed.
Like, what are you doing?
And it's like, at the time too, like I didn't really know how to respond. Like I didn't know how to be like, no, put your damn shoes on yourself, man.
Yeah, you were a high school student. I know very few high school students who would have the confidence to stand up for themselves like that. And
yeah,
she definitely knew you were in that position where you weren't going to fight her back. Like, customer's always right. Or
yeah,
some power dynamic of being an elder with all the things that has baggage for.
yeah,
She definitely took advantage of that situation. That's so effed up.
yeah. And so I was just like, okay, like,
Yeah.
I guess. But yeah, that pissed me off real good. Any other stories that you have? Karens?
There's so many. Dude, it was just like a daily struggle. I will say, I've talked about this with my partner a few times. Some way, there's no shortage of Karens out there in the world, right? But I think what made the customer service job worth it, I think one of the redeeming qualities of when you are in a customer service job like that, the people you engage with and some of the people you work with can be really shitty.
Mm-hmm.
You can also have really good ones. Like I do have some like quality customers who were absolutely wonderful to me, and I have a few stories of that.
Mm-hmm.
But it's the people who make it worth it.
Yes.
There's times where I think back on it in my time like working customer service, and I think of it like fondly just because of the people I got to interact with, because I think there's just a commiserating factor of like dealing with this bullshit. You'll deal with a really bad customer, and then as soon as you're done talking to them, like your coworkers next to you is like, what just happened? And you're like, let me spill the tea on like this shithole person that just came through, and you guys like talk smack about your customers, and it's therapeutic because you get over that bad interaction you just had, and you're able to talk through that bad interaction, and they kind of like, yeah, that sucks, dude, and then you move on, and they're going through it with you, so like they understand, and they, you know, you guys help each other out. I definitely miss that type of working dynamic sometimes.
Oh, me too.
The people I got to work with.
Yeah, the coworkers make the job. Like,
100%.
No matter how horrible the job is, if you have good coworkers that you can like talk to, joke around with, you know, like pull pranks on, you know, like it just makes it all worth it. Yeah.
Make the work not feel like work.
I also love it was so weird. Like, I don't know about you, but I always felt like there was this, like, there were two levels of relationships you have, right? They're like your friends, and then there are your coworkers.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I never personally, like, I never really hung out with my coworkers a lot outside of work. Yeah. But like once we got into work, I was like, spill the tea. Tell me everything about your week.
Basically, yeah, like when you were at work, it was like that was your hangout.
Yeah.
Essentially. You're trying to hang out while you're working to try to make time and the pain go by.
Literally. Yeah. I also worked at a food chain for a little bit, and the coworkers made it so worth it. Like we were fully understaffed. Like everyone was quitting and things like that, which was a whole different drama thing. But the group of people I was working with, every single day, everyone came in with like tired but positive attitude, you know?
Yeah.
And like we would always switch off between who brought in everyone energy drinks or who brought in everyone coffees, you know?
That's sweet.
And so, we'd like pass them out in the mornings if we had morning shift, or like if it was closing time, we would just like all bring each other like snacks and things like that. So it was so fun. Yeah. Definitely talking smack about all of the horrible customers that we had, breathe life back into us.
Definitely. And like you said, like bringing food, I can't remember what we called it, but yeah, like that back room where we would have lunch and stuff like that. There was like a few, like we called them like the aunties, the maternal-esque figures who also worked the job. They usually worked more like the behind the scenes stuff, and so they would bring food into the restaurant whenever they had shifts. Every once in a while, just like whatever leftovers they had, or just because they felt like cooking. So you just go in the back room, tired, not quite mentally prepared for your shift, but you're like, okay, I gotta hype myself up. And then on the table there's, well, I grew up in Hawaii, so a lot of the aunties were usually Filipino, so there'd be like a bunch of Filipino food out and about on this table. And I was just like, let's go. Like, I was ready.
Dude, that's so nice.
Yeah, they were so sweet. That was great. Or like sometimes someone would bring donuts, you know, classic stuff like that. There was a wide range.
Yeah.
We even had a customer who would do that.
Oh, really? That's so nice.
Yeah. There was this customer who would come in. I don't know if he came in every day because I only worked once a week because I was also doing sports and school and AP class. Like I only worked once a week in high school at least. And I saw him every time I had a shift, and he would just kind of come up. He'd wait for like the kind of the lull after the morning rush, but before the afternoon lunch rush. Order his food, sip his coffee. Then when it's kind of like a lull, he'll like come up and like kind of chat with us and be like, how's your week going? And he'd ask for like a bucket of ice from us because that's what we would we'd give out ice, and then he'd bring some type of food, like pineapple, or like he'd bring us a whole ass pineapple like a few times. Or like sometimes he'll bring like donuts or like mango, something like that.
Well, I want donuts
Donuts
now.
do sound good. I've said donuts twice. Can you tell what I'm craving?
Should we get donuts? Is this a sign?
Yeah. I think if you say donuts one more time, then we have to get in it.
It's like Beetlejuice. If we say it a certain amount of times, they'll just appear.
I wish.
What were we talking about before?
Oh, food, coworkers, making it worth it.
Oh yeah.
When we worked customer service jobs.
Yeah. Honestly, one of my favorite coworkers was at the boutique that I worked at, and she was another mom.
Yeah.
Whenever we worked together, I absolutely loved it. We would talk about life. She would give me advice because she has 2 children that were a bit older than me.
Oh, okay.
So she was like...
She's done her time.
Exactly. So she had 1 boy, 1 girl. She's like, listen, any and all questions, I have an answer. So she was honestly the best. And we ended up going together to one of our other coworkers' weddings, and it was just like...
Wow.
She was amazing. I don't want to like call her out by name, but she knows who she is.
Yeah. Oh, that's so sweet.
Yeah. On the flip side, though, this just made me think bad coworkers, they also can make or break a job.
That's so true.
Yeah. I was watching a video, listening to something, and whoever was talking said the way to lose your good workers is to let bad behavior from a poor worker slide by.
Oh.
Like if you have like 10 workers who are working really, really hard, you know, doing their job, get paid minimum wage.
A different issue entirely.
Yeah. And then to have another worker to the side, not caring, not doing their job.
Yeah.
Being, I don't know, just unproductive in general, slacking off, and allowing them to continue to do that. Your good coworkers are going to lose motivation so fast. It was interesting. Have you ever had like a situation like that?
So like I've never had anyone be a bad coworker that I can think of. Maybe there was like 1 or 2 people that I didn't quite gel with. Like they just kind of rubbed me the wrong way, but that was so few and far in between. And especially, I would almost never have direct shifts with them that I've never needed to deal with that. But I have a younger brother. He's 20. Oh my gosh, he's about to turn 22. Wild. Holy cow.
Wow.
He turns 22
How
in a
time
couple
flies.
weeks. Stop. I cannot mentally grasp that information. I need a moment. Holy shit. But yeah, he's about to turn 22. He's a manager at a fast food chain as well. And how I was talking about, like, sometimes I miss it. I think I get my dosage when I talk to him and, like, oh, how's work? And then he's like, oh my God, this shithead, like, customer, or this worker was being dumb because they did this, they came in late, whatever it was. And I get my tea vicariously through him without having to work the job and deal with the customers directly. But he was telling me there was this one person that perpetually came in late or just, like, didn't show up to their shift. They were being put on the schedule, but they just weren't showing up to work for, like, a few weeks. Oh. And I was like, he's a kind of like a lower level manager, like more entry level manager. He doesn't do all the big calls and everything, but he runs the shift, you know, he's a shift manager. Mm-hmm. So how are your higher ups like letting this pass and still putting this person on schedule? Like, what the F? And yeah, it went on for a while, and then finally they took this person off. Like, they kept calling in, you know, you call in for the person's shift when they're like late and you're like, hey, are you still showing up, or like basically what's up? And they always had excuses. Oh, like I can't today because of this, I got caught babysitting this, and some of those might have been valid, but after like literal weeks of like blowing off your shift, so they assumed they quit after this person didn't show up for a while. And then they came back to the store after however long, and they were like, oh, can I get my schedule for next week? My brother was like, nope. He was like, I cannot deal. So he let like another higher up manager kind of deal with it. And they were like, we assumed you quit because you weren't showing up for the schedule. Yeah. And they're like, no, I thought I was still working here. Like, then why haven't you been showing? So it was just like this weird disparity. And so essentially they rehired this person. And when my brother told me that, I was like, are you freaking kidding me? He's like, no, and watch, they're not going to show up to their shifts again, and we're going to go through this again. Yeah. So like for him, he has to run the shift, right? He's in charge of like making sure everyone's there, they have enough workers there, so that way everyone can do the job and it's not a shit for the people who are working that shift. And yeah, so he's like, they're gonna have to go through this again, he's gonna have to run these really chaotic shifts. where they're going to be down a person, and that's not fair to him, and that's not fair to the people who have to work that shift. He like tried to warn the upper management, like, really, you're going to hire this person back? They've already proven that they're
not reliable. Yeah,
exactly. And they're like, well, no. So he's like, fine, you're going to see what happens. And yeah, he's had like issues retaining workers at his job because people get discouraged for stuff like that. So like that article that you were talking about totally makes sense. I've seen it vicariously through him. I haven't had to deal with it myself, but
I had to deal with it at my customer service job where I worked at a food chain.
Okay, yeah.
It was the same town I grew up in, and so I knew the guy who was slacking off personally from high school. I mean, like, we weren't really friends, but I knew who he was. And I was kind of surprised at first that he even got hired. I mean, to be quite honest, the job I had didn't have a lot of, like, I guess,
it wasn't a hard
weight
screening
to it. Yeah, it wasn't a hard job. It was mostly a behavioral interview. Okay, you're hired situation.
Yeah, totally.
So I was like, okay, but his responsibilities, even from the get-go, were kind of like tailored to his level. He wasn't held at the same expectations as the rest of us. So because at the time I got hired, a lot of people were leaving and all of that stuff. It was just because I started in one of the summers, and so it was a lot of transition between like people leaving for school and like all that stuff. So it was already very like volatile in that way. So when I got hired, even though I was supposed to be hired for kind of like one quote unquote station that they called it, I started getting training in a lot of different things. And so did a lot of other people. And this one guy who didn't have a hard job, like he could barely do his one job, we'd be like, hey, can you go take out the trash? He would have a hard time doing that. Hey, can you wipe down that table? Hard time doing that. Like, we weren't asking him to do challenging things. And so the fact that
when you say hard time, like he couldn't, for whatever reason, couldn't do the job, or like he like would resist doing the job? If you're like, hey, take out the trash, did he like find every excuse to like not do it?
No, he'd just be really lazy about it. He's like, oh, really? Like, can someone else do it? It's like, no, like we're all busy right now. Can you go do it? It's not like none of us have ever not taken out trash. Like, we do it all the time. And so he would just be like, drag himself over to the trash bin, like slowly, try to take out the trash slowly, take his time trying to unfold the new trash bag. Like,
take his sweet ass time to do one job.
Yeah. And then sometimes, how if you have a trash can that's in like the middle of two sizes for trash bags, you kind of have to make sure they're tight on the outside so that the bag doesn't just sink into the actual trash bin. Yeah. He'd be like, can someone help me with this?
Stop.
He like couldn't do it. And I was like, my guy, it's really like, it's a simple task. It's not rocket science. I'm out here working 3 different stations. I'm gonna need you to just do this one thing, kind of.
Strap on your big boy pants. You can do it. Like,
yeah. And this went on for a while. And so everyone was kind of talking, like all the workers were like, why is he still here? Like, we're busting our asses, right? Because we're understaffed. And he's over here kind of just wandering around, not doing the couple of things we're asking him to. And so everyone's like, felt, I think overall, that they weren't being appreciated for their hard work. And so everyone was considering leaving. And the manager, kind of similar to what your brother has at his job, there was like lower level management who kind of worked closer with the actual employees. And then there were like higher level that just mostly did scheduling and whatever. And so the managers we were working with, they're like, no, like, please don't leave. You guys are great workers. Like, we'll try to talk to this guy and get him going, or talk to our other managers to see what's up, things like that. But yeah, it's once, like, if you're a self-motivated person, hard worker, without having to be asked, and then you see these other people getting away with just really not okay behavior for a professional work setting, it's really upsetting.
And getting paid the same amount as you.
Yeah.
Like, you're supposedly have the quote, quote, same job, but like how you were saying, you were understaffed, so like you had to step up and take 3 stations. If it was uniform across the ladder, at least that day that you were on shift, right? Like, it doesn't, not that it doesn't matter, but it seems about fair. It's like, oh, we're in a shitty situation, we're understaffed. But it's like, okay, but if everyone is working 3 stations, but this one person can't even do his one station, when he could be taking like 2 stations, he could lift the load for like everyone else at least a little bit.
Yeah.
It's very unmotivational for the people who are making it worth it.
Yeah. It's a bummer, really.
Yeah. I feel like, because I worked in the mornings for that job, I usually worked with more like adults, people who kind of had a higher opinion of like, not to say that people our age did it, but it usually like high schoolers, they're juggling high school and whatever thing, so I feel like it's a little bit more like finicky. But the adults I worked with were very like timely and like on top of it. A lot of the high schoolers would want to work more. No one wanted to work at 5 a.m. I had to, because that was the only time I had available.
I can't imagine.
I was telling you this the other day. I literally had, school all week, practice after that, then homework. So basically my weekdays were totally filled. I was a cheerleader, so I would cheer at the football games. Basically, my entire Saturday was either cheer practice all morning, football game afterwards, and then I'd come home. And I really like football. So I'd rewatch the entire football game on TV with my dad. He would like wait for me to come home and we watched the whole replay together. But by that time, game finished at like 10, 11, got home 11:30, close to midnight, rewatched the whole game. We're not done till like 1, almost 2 a.m. And then I'd go to sleep for like 2 hours and then wake up for my 5 a.m. job.
Damn. That is intense. I would have been fired immediately because I would just not wake up.
Oh, my dad was the best, and he doesn't let me forget it. That was definitely the motivator for making sure I got to that job on time. I mean, I watched the game with him, so I feel like he's also partly to blame, because we were, I was watching the game with him. He was the instigator and wanting to rewatch the game afterwards, but he also made sure like I was not gonna be late for that job. He's like, nah, you're working, get your ass up, you're gonna be on time to your job.
We love.
Yeah, he's like, you're not gonna let your coworkers down. You know how shitty it is when you're down a person for your shift, like how much that throws it off. You're not going to be that guy.
Yeah, and it's good for just like discipline, commitment, all of that stuff, like ingraining it into you. We stand. Good job, Kelly.
Totally. He was so adamant about me working at customer. I was so resistant to it growing up. I tried to work literally any other job. And he's like, no one's gonna hire you because you can only work one. Like, legitimately, that was the only time I could work.
Yeah.
He's like, no one's gonna hire you. No other quote, quote, normal job is gonna hire you because you don't have the flexibility in your schedule. You literally can only work this day. So you need a job that has crazy, weird schedules, like customer service at a food chain, where they need you to work weird shifts. So this is the only place that's gonna hire you. And I was like, tried to apply to everywhere else. Everyone turned me down. And at some point I was like, fuck, I really need a job. I guess so.
Yeah.
It was a good experience. I'm glad. I will never admit it to him, but I'm glad I work customer service.
Except for on this podcast.
Except for on this podcast that he may or may not. We'll see. When he calls me out on it in a week, maybe I'll find out that he listens to this. But yeah, like he was so adamant about it. He's like, I feel like everyone should work a customer service job because then you know how to treat people. And
for sure.
Being on both sides of that now, yeah, I think especially other people I know who have worked customer service, they know what it's like to be on that side. So I feel like they are also the people who have customer voices and like they try to be accommodating and like understanding when you're in that service environment and like someone's serving you, that you try to be accommodating for that.
Yeah.
Whereas like people who haven't, they usually, not usually, but sometimes will just like have no grasp and understanding and can be rude.
Yeah, I totally agree. If you have the opportunity to work at a customer service or especially in the food industry,
especially food,
do it.
Yeah.
I think it'll help to shape your character just overall as a person, and it teaches you to treat other people well in frustrating circumstances.
Yeah.
Because like I feel like we've all been on both sides, right? Like we've had someone who's working who's been rude to us, and we've also been probably not the best to someone else.
Yeah.
So just being exposed to both point of views. One of those.
Both just sound wrong now.
Right? I'm like, one of them is right, I think, unless both are wrong.
Choose your own adventure. Someone will correct you.
Yeah, super important. There are always a lot of positives working in the customer service industry. Again, I feel like a broken record, but it definitely shapes you to just be like more respectful of other people and their time, the effort that they're putting into their jobs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you said, I think being able to see points of view, it's like when you work customer service, this is going to sound so morbid, but like you see the shittiest of people.
Yeah.
Like how I was talking about like being bitchy at 5 a.m. because they haven't had their fucking morning coffee. Like I'm seeing you in your worst. Like you see people in truly their worst moments. You have to build a tough, not justifying it, like you shouldn't be that shitty to another human being, but you learn to have a tough skin and like be able to take that and still put goodness out into the world. Of you still want to give them that, or you don't want to, but your job says that you need to give them, that customer satisfaction, give that quality customer experience and be positive. So I think in life that's a good skill to have. I wish people weren't that shitty. Obviously, I'll complain about it till the day I die, that people, sometimes you see people just being absolutely shitty and there's no need to be. But there's those gleaming moments of, yeah, people who can just take it and keep maintaining positive attitude. Sometimes they shouldn't need to, but, you know, we're not going to fix everyone. So at least can't fix everyone. At least learn the tools to be able to take it and handle it and not let it dampen your day too much.
Yeah, I'm definitely glad I don't have to work in it now.
Yeah.
But I am grateful for the skills that I left the industry, the customer service industry with.
What are some skills you think? Name a couple you got from customer service that you are thankful for.
I think it's a lot of communication skills.
Yeah.
For sure. There are too often times where miscommunication happens, whether it be when I work in retail with shoes or at the food chain with hungry customers. You have to learn how to communicate and mediate difficult situations, answer questions, strategize how you'll switch the conversation, switch the focus of the conversation to something else, be creative in finding solutions. And every situation is different. So, you know, one person could be mad that they couldn't find the right pair of shoes. So sorry, I can order things online for you. Yeah. Or if we don't have their size, or if they're just like, none of these styles work, well, there's another shoe store a few blocks down. Like, you can check them out. You know, like, just... being able to still be respectful and give your opinion.
Helpful debugging.
Yeah. Debug console log this. System.debug. Hello world.
It is the weekend, ma'am. We are not tech. No.
Hello world. Patience for sure.
So much patience.
I mean, to be quite honest, I think I've lost a little bit of that one.
Yeah, I've seen jokes that it's like, have you ever noticed the people who hate humanity the most are the people who work in customer service? Like, because you see the worst. You'll use so much patience in like your customer service job, and then like in your normal life, you're like, I have none to expel to the rest of the world.
Yeah, like I'm done. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about you?
Ugh, gosh, damn. If someone's writing a resume for what you learned for your customer service job, just listen in, my guy. Yeah, I think what I also learned was multitasking, kind of like how you're talking about, like running multiple stations at once. That was so critical for my job. And so I had to get good at multitasking and my brain running multiple trains of thoughts of different orders and being at different stages of prep and all of that, while still not sacrificing the customer that you're serving, their experience to still be trying to get their food quickly. Like basically still have a in and out mentality of serving them. Teamwork, how we were kind of talking about working with other people. Teamwork makes the dream work. It's just so ingrained in a job like that, where you work one station or two and you have to be dependent on your coworkers who are working whatever respective stations that they are, so that way you can come together and give the customer the product that they need and that they want.
Also, like understanding as a general statement, because even though the end goal, say getting your food fast, seems so simple, right? There are so many factors behind the scenes that as a customer you don't see. As a customer, your experience is, I'm gonna drive up to this window, say I want this, this, and this, and then I'll pay and then I'll leave. Like, that's the customer experience.
Very black box,
right? Exactly. And as the actual worker who's, getting all the food ready or whatever, there's so many things that have to go right just to get have that one simple result.
Yeah.
So now as a customer, whenever I'm at a restaurant, right, and maybe they mess up my order or they forget to take our order, when it's busy, having the understanding and being like, look, I know that you have 10 different tables in your section.
Yeah.
I know that you have 40 different dishes going in and out of the kitchen, along with the 5 other waitresses and
all customized stations.
Yeah. I understand. I'm not upset. You gain empathy in those situations where it's like, don't even worry about it. If I have to wait 15 minutes, totally fine. I know this is a stressful situation for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely empathy.
God works hard, but service workers, they be
harder.
working harder.
Good trip down memory lane.
Yeah.
The trying times of our customer service days.
Those good old days.
But also questionable.
Yeah. those mediocre old days.
Thank you so much for joining us on this episode of the Midnight Memo, taking a little stroll down memory lane of our customer service industry experiences. That's Claire, and I'm Kristen. If you would like to join us next week for our next episode on Tuesday, if you have any ideas for topics you would like to hear us mindlessly discuss at ungodly hours of the night, message us at the Midnight Memo on TikTok or Instagram, or feel free to email us themidnightmemo@gmail.com. Also, be sure to follow us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts to be notified for next week's episode drop. And rate us on all platforms. If you would like to support the podcast, hit the link in our description. We greatly appreciate it for you supporting this podcast and giving us the time and space to talk about these weird things that keep us up at night. Any other thoughts, Claire?
Nope. We'll catch you guys next week.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.